Walter's Sports Bar is a great place for the family to grab a bite to eat before going into the ballpark. $5 kids meals from 4 to 7 p.m. with the purchase of an adult meal. Walter's is located across the street from Nationals Park.
Here's Keller's pitch. Swing a line drive into center field. That'll fall for a hit in front of Cruz, and the Nationals lead it 3-0. House will score. Up to second and holding is Lyle. CJ Abrams now second in the major leagues by himself with 18 RBIs. The Nationals have jumped on Keller, 5 batters in to lead it 3-0. Now the set, the pitch. Slider got him swinging. 3 sliders in a row, and down goes Lau. Nice work by Parker. Back-to-back strikeouts out of the bullpen. Ready for a 1-2 pitch to York. Here it comes. Swinging a fly ball right side into foul ground is Curtis Mead. He's under it. He's got room. He makes the catch. The ball game is over, and the Nationals have evened this series with a 5-4 win over the Pirates.
Bullpen was huge. I mean, you look at, the last 5 innings were scoreless. Just couldn't be happier with every guy coming out of the bullpen ready to go. They came out of the bullpen ready to roll. Like, there's just a different look in those guys' eyes.
And welcome to Nats Chat, along with Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Mark is at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. One-run games in MLB are a funny thing, right? A team's record in one-run games tends to fluctuate from season to season. So much of how a team does in one-run games, especially with the current automatic runner rule and extra inning games, can be based on luck. But we know that a good bullpen certainly can help in how a team does in one-run games. And while the Nats do not have a good bullpen, they on Tuesday evening did get some good bullpen work. A 5-4 win at the Pittsburgh Pirates on Tuesday evening in Game 2 of a 4-game series. So this was a game for which the start was delayed for 18 minutes due to rain. But the Nats have notched their first one-run win in MLB's 2026 regular season, in which the Nats now are 8-9, including 1-3 in one-run games. More good offense by the Nats, but some clutch relief pitching too. Mark, this was a nice win by the Nats on Tuesday evening.
I mean, Al, if I told you in the 6th inning that the 5-4 lead the Nats held at that point, that was going to hold up for the rest of the game, and that would be the final score of the game, I don't think anybody would have imagined that would come through. And then when you consider who they were using to get those outs to hold on to a 1-run lead, it's Mitchell Parker, CNL Perez, Clayton Beater, and I guess the new closer, Gus Varland. I don't know if this is a new role for him, but he's got 2 saves now on this road trip. I mean, they had to piece this one together with 0 margin for error, and they all delivered. And that was really an impressive thing to watch. They danced, the dance. They were on the tightrope that whole time, but they got it done when they had to. And that was an entertaining win. And I think an impressive win against what we can see is going to be a very competitive Pirates team.
All of the runs in the game were scored over the first 5 innings. No runs scored from the 6th through 9th innings. To your point, raise your hand if you expected that given the state of the Nats bullpen, but the bullpen in many ways came through in this game. But so did the Nats offense, and that is the number one reason for this Nats victory. 5 runs, 9 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles and 6 singles, 4 walks, 5 for 11 with runners in scoring position. And CJ Abrams has taken the torch from James Wood in terms of who is the Nat who is hottest right now. Abrams is on fire. He is the Nats starting shortstop and number 5 batter, went 3 for 4 with a solo homer, a double, and an RBI single. Now, he did make multiple outs on the base paths, but Abrams in a 3-run first for the Nats had a first pitch RBI single to center field for a 3-0 Nats lead, although he did get thrown out in an attempted steal of second base. This on a strike him out, throw him out double play to end that top of the first. But Abrams in the Nats 1-run third hit a homer, a 2-out solo homer to right field for a 4-1 Nats lead. And Abrams in the top of the 8th, a leadoff double to right field. Now, he got thrown out at home on a Jose Tena 2-out opposite field single to left field as the Pirates left fielder Jake Mangum made a terrific throw. Nats manager Blake Butera challenged the play. The call of out was upheld, as was the call of there being no violation of the home plate collision rule. Kevin Franzen on Nationals TV was adamant that there had been a violation of the home plate collision rule. Maybe I'm wrong. I didn't see that. I thought there was a pretty clear path for Abrams there, and the fact that the call was upheld, I thought spoke to that, but I'm interested in your take on that.
Abrams coming around third. The throw from Mangum toward the plate. The slide, the tag. He's out. The throw on the fly was perfect by Mangum. He cuts down Abrams at the plate.
But CJ Abrams, I mean, he is on a tear right now. His OPS up to 1,121. He's doing so well right now.
We've seen him be a really good hitter in the first half of the last two seasons. He's kind of taken it to another level here, at least so far, with what he's doing. He is hitting the ball with authority, hitting it for power, hitting to the gaps and down the lines. He's a triple shy of the cycle in this game. He's just playing, I think, with a confidence, he described it as, feeling really comfortable at the plate. And look, he's doing this against some tough pitchers. He homered off Paul Skeens on Monday night and almost homered off him again his next time up. Mitch Keller's a good pitcher. I know the Nats had success against him in this game, but, he's overall a pretty good big league pitcher. And, Abrams was all over him in this one. So this is just really encouraging to see. I'm not going to say it's surprising because we have seen him be a really good all-star caliber player in the first half before. So I'm not shocked by it. I think the question now, we got such a long way to go, but the question is, can he just sustain this and sustain it beyond June and July, but all the way through the summer and into the end of the season? We'll have plenty of time to get to that. For now, just enjoy what he's doing. As far as the play at the plate goes, I agree with you. And Blake Butera agreed also.
A great baseball play by them. We thought maybe there's a chance they blocked home plate, but it was pretty textbook.
They challenged it because if you're challenging a play at the plate, you're allowed to ask for both the safe out call and the blocking the plate rule. There's no penalty for trying to do that. You can challenge both calls in the same play. But he said after the fact that, when they did get to look at it, it was fine. That really was, in my mind, about as perfect of a throw as you're ever going to see from an outfielder, a perfect tag. I don't think anybody did anything wrong. You could argue that the slide, because it goes in feet first and that front leg, and we've seen this happen a few times, the front leg kind of pops up where it's not actually touching the plate right as he gets to the plate. And maybe that could have been the tiny difference that would have allowed him to be safe. But Butera mentioned that as well post-game and said that they try to encourage their guys not to go head first into the plate because there is more risk of injury. You just try to stick your hand in there, you get spiked, you get stepped on, who knows what might happen. Now you miss time. So it was kind of a frustrating play in the moment, but I think in the end, you just credit Jake Mangum and the Pirates with just a flawlessly executed throw to the plate and tag and setup and all that. And, thankfully that didn't cost the Nats the game because it looked like one more hit that could have been the difference in it for them. But I don't really find fault with the way the Nats handled it. I think the Pirates just played that play absolutely perfectly.
I mentioned James Wood. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number one batter, 0 for 3. 2 walks and a stolen base. Did strike out 3 times, but Wood in that Nats 3-run first, a leadoff 4-pitch walk, and a steal of second base. His OPS is at 972. Brady House had a good game. He is the Nats starting DH and number 3 batter, 2 for 4 with a double and an RBI single. House in that Nats 3-run first, RBI single up the middle on a 1-2 pitch to put the Nats up 1-0. And House in the top of the 7th, the 2-out opposite field double to right field. Brady House now has an OPS of 756. Dalen Lyle got in on the act. He is an Nats starting left fielder and cleanup batter, 1 for 4, RBI single. He in the 3-run first had an RBI single to center on a 1-2 pitch for a 2-0 Nats lead. You'll notice a lot of good 2-strike hitting by the Nats in this game, especially in that 3-run first. But the 3-run first could have been even grander. Lyle got picked off at second base for the first out. I mentioned what happened with Abrams. That was a 3-run first that, first of all, ended quickly because those outs came quickly. But second of all, it made you want more. The inning left you yearning for more, a 3-run inning that you felt like could have been a 4 or 5-run inning.
So they send 6 batters to the plate in that inning, and the first 5 all reach base. You're not expecting that then to turn into such a quick end of the inning. And you had 3 outs made during one at bat, and there was no double play or no double play ground ball or anything like that in that. You had to strike him out, throw him out. The caught stealing, again, I don't know, there's a whole lot you can do about that. It happens. The pickoff play is, I think, the real one that stands out. You can't let that happen if you're Dalen Lyle in that spot. You've got them on the ropes with a chance at a huge first inning. Your guys are seeing Keller well. You're getting good contact. Don't do anything there that might risk that. And so I think that was a mistake. We've seen, it's been an overall successful road trip. They've gone 4-1 here so far, but we have seen them make way too many outs on the bases. We know that's a recurring problem from previous years. And You get thrown out trying to steal second. You get thrown out on a close play at the plate like we saw in this game. You live with that stuff. But the pickoffs, and we saw that happen in Milwaukee too at first base, those are the ones that are correctable and really should not be happening to the extent that they still are.
And I mentioned the two-strike hitting, Luis Garcia Jr. He is the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, 1 for 2, RBI single and a walk. Garcia in the Nats 1-run fourth, a 2-out RBI single through the right side of the infield on an 0-2 pitch for a 5-1 Nats lead. I was thinking about this during the game with Brady House as the DH. We, for the first time in a long time, have it so that the Nats don't have a regular DH. And we're seeing what you see with a lot of teams now, which is the DH rotation. And I do think that's good. I think that's a refreshing change here. But, Brady House, James Wood, Luis Garcia, we're seeing a variety of people in that DH spot. And that's the way a lot of teams go now. And I think it's good for this team this season with this roster to have that kind of flexibility.
I like the strategy of it. I wish they had at least one more hitter that was regularly in their lineup that you felt good about. At the moment, they're still kind of compelled to play either a Jose Tena or a Jorbit Bibas or a Joey Wiemer on the days that he plays. If they had one more guy in there, I would feel a little bit better about it. Jose Tena's gotten way too many starts as DH for the team. I didn't even realize this. Tena finally made his first appearance in the field on Monday, and it was in left field in the blowout game. First time he ever played the outfield, I think, in his life. He's really just a hitter. Now, he had a really nice at-bat late in this game. He had the 10-pitch pinch hit single that could have scored Abrams if not for the great play at the plate. But, Jose Tena is not really what your idea of a prototypical DH. Bibas isn't that. I like the fact that they can move guys in and out of it. And yes, it allows you to keep a Wood or a House or a Lyle in the lineup without having to play the field. But I would like to see them, whether it's somebody that comes up from AAA or if they were to acquire another player, I'd just like to see one more quality hitter to be a part of that rotation. I think it would lengthen the lineup and allow you really to pick your best 9. I feel like most days Blake Butera is kind of going with 7 or 8 that he likes, and then you got to fill it out with somebody else.
Well, if Dylan Cruz and or Robert Hassel III was at the major league level, I don't think we'd have that problem. The plan was not for certainly Cruz to be at AAA Rochester. I'm not sure what they were thinking internally with Hassel, but if/when those guys come up, maybe, we get a better representation there in terms of that DH spot. But it's good just to not be bogged down by having to have the same guy in the DH spot every game. And, more often than not in recent years, that same guy was a guy who wasn't producing. But the Nats offensively are producing 17 games, 99 runs, 5.82 runs per game. The Nats number 4 in MLB in team OPS at 772. Al Galdi here to tell you about Window Nation's The More You Buy, The More You Save sale. But before that, the Window Nation look into the future.
The 3-1 pitch. Hassel swings and rips one. Deep right center field. Way back it goes and gone. Hassel pounds a home run to right center. And the Wings have cut that deficit in half immediately. One batter into the bottom of the first.
Well, happy spring. Window Nation is ready for spring, and Window Nation wants Nats Chat podcast listeners to know that there's no better time to upgrade your home with great Window Nation windows than right now, as Window Nation is offering to Nats Chat podcast listeners the More You Buy, The More You Save sale. Save up to 50%. Get your windows with 0% interest for 5 years. During uncertain times, one of the best investments that you can make is investing in your home. So visit windownation.com now to book a consultation and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you. That's windownation.com and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
The staff in Rochester's done an outstanding job with Mitchell to where he comes up here, comes in a game a one-run lead right there on the road and is able to do what he's doing, and not just like the same Mitchell you saw last year, even better.
So the Nats for this 5-4 win at the Pirates on Tuesday evening used an opener. It again was relief pitcher PJ Poulin. He allowed 1 run in 1 inning. Bottom of the first, gave up a 1-out full count solo homer by the University of Maryland product, Brandon Lau, to right field to cut the Nats lead to 3-1. And then we had starting pitcher Miles Mikolas coming into the game as the Nats bulk pitcher. He allowed 3 runs in 3 and 1/3 innings. Mikolas in the bottom of the 4th allowed 2 runs, issued a leadoff walk of Brandon Lau, followed by issuing a walk of Brian Reynolds, despite having had Reynolds down at 1.02, and Mikolas gave up a 1-out RBI double by Marcelo Zuna to left field on a 1-2 pitch to cut the Nats lead to 5-2. Mikolas in the bottom of the 5th allowed a run, gave up a 1-out solo homer by Joey Bart to left field to cut the Nats lead to 5-4. Now, this homer was interesting. Dalen Lyle in left field had a chance to make a home run robbing catch, ended up whiffing on the attempt. He tried to make a leaping backhanded catch. I know you can't assume the home run robbery, just like you can't assume the double play.
Next pitch. Swing a fly ball well hit to left. Lyle back to the warning track at the wall. He leaps and he cannot get it. It's gone. It just clears.
That was a catchable ball, though, and maybe we're spoiled by Jacob Young, but like you watch the replay, that's a catch that Lyle could have made. He did not make it, but it is a home run given up by Mikolas, and that was it. Blake Butera ended up yanking Mikolas from the game. And so your updated stats for Mikolas here: 4 games, including 3 starts, ERA 11.49, whip 2.17. Brutal numbers. He's not eating innings. Age 37 season. Nats are a team that has restarted a rebuild. And, unless the Nats have this feeling that they can fix him and then flip him, I don't know why you stick with this guy in the rotation for much longer if he continues to pitch like this.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the really telling part of all this is that the amount that he pitched in this game was pretty much what they intended all along. This wasn't a case of them pulling him because he was ineffective. He was actually pretty good those first 2 innings, faced the minimum, only threw 19 pitches. But they knew they couldn't get away with only throwing him for 2 innings and then going to Mitchell Parker. So they wanted to try to get him at least through part of the lineup again. And that's when he finally ran into trouble. A couple walks hurt him. The home run we know has been a problem. And it got to the point that you remove him. And now the lefties were coming up again. And so there's Parker. But what an indictment of the guy who started game 2 of the season for you. He's not their number 2 starter. We know that. It was the fact that Zach Littell wasn't ready yet after signing late. Mikolas is their 5th starter. But the way they're treating him now, it's clear they're trying to do everything they can to avoid using him as much as possible by, in this case, giving him an opener and then giving him a long man behind him in Mitchell Parker, where you just have this little compressed window of 3 innings that you're going to use him for from the 2nd to the 4th. I mean, for now, it worked in this game, and I guess, that's okay, but that's not a long-term plan for anything. So we'll see. I don't think this is the end of the road for him necessarily. I think what Mitchell Parker did in this game shows you that he might be more valuable in that role as a long left-handed reliever to go 2 or 3 innings, as opposed to trying to make him the 5th starter again. So until they decide there's somebody at AAA they want to bring up to be the true 5th starter, I think they'll probably stick with this. But I think you will continue to see them go out of their way to limit the amount of time that Mikolas is on the mound and, in theory, the amount of damage that he can give up when he is out there.
Yeah, this for a guy, remember, who altogether now eats innings. He eats innings, and yet the Nats are using an opener and then a long man to make it so that Mikolas doesn't pitch too many innings in a game. Yeah, look, they know this. I mean, what we're saying here, Paul Taboni, Ani Kalambi, Blake Butera, they're aware of all this, but it is kind of silly when you think about it. Like, what is the point here with this guy as an older pitcher on a team that has reignited the rebuild? But the Nats, after Mikolas pitched in this game, got some very good pitching. 4 Nats relievers beyond the bulk pitcher, Miles Mikolas, combined for 4 2/3 shutout innings. Mitchell Parker was great. The Nats on Tuesday morning announced having recalled Parker from AAA Rochester. He came into this game. He tossed 2 scoreless innings with 5 swinging strikeouts. versus no walks. What got into this guy? He was terrific in this game. Cionel Perez, he officially tossed a scoreless and hitless inning, came into the game bottom of the seventh, bases loaded, 1 out, and the Nats clinging to a 5-4 lead. And Perez, to the first batter he faced, induced a big 4-3 double play by pinch hitter Nick York for 2 big outs to end that bottom of the seventh. Clayton Beeter in the bottom of the eighth faced 2 batters and got 2 outs. And Gus Varland, a scoreless bottom of the ninth for the save, though not without drama. Gave up a 1-out first pitch opposite field double by Connor Griffin off the right field wall. Varland then issued a walk, a 1-out walk of Joey Bart, despite having had him down at 1.12. But Varland then generated a swinging strikeout of Oneil Cruz, and Varland then induced a game-ending pop-out by Nick York. And so this 4-man attack here in terms of relievers post-Mikolas, Parker, Perez, Beeter, and Varland coming through.
So, as I just said a little while ago, I'd like Parker in this role. And we saw this a little bit at the end of September when they took him out of the rotation because he was, one of the worst starting pitchers in baseball last year. But he had a little success. Remember that series in New York where they basically ended the Mets' playoff hopes? He was a big part of that in one of those games. I think he profiles well for something like this. He didn't have to throw his fastball as much, was throwing his slider, which was really effective. The fastball, when he did throw it, had good velocity to it. He said himself he was pitching with confidence. I think he was embracing what this new role for him was, at least on this night. We don't know what their intentions are beyond this game, but with Ken Waldichuk now out potentially for the rest of the season, I think it's really appealing, the idea of having a third lefty in your bullpen who can give you innings like Parker can. I think there's a potential future for him there, at least until he proves otherwise. So I'd like to that, and I'd like to see more of it. With the rest of them, I was just surprised at the order that they all came in to pitch. He ends up bringing in Cionel Perez to replace Parker. That's a lefty for a lefty. And he does so as the Pirates are pinch hitting a right-handed hitter, York, for one of their best lefty hitters, Lau, who had already homered in the game earlier. He's got, I think, 7 on the season. He's been off to a really good start. So it was a little bit of a curious pinch hit by Don Kelly, and then a little bit of a strange bringing in the lefty to face the righty by Blake Butera. Now, I'm sure he's looking at the guys behind York. Reynolds, a switch hitter. You want to turn him around to the right side, and then O'Hearn, the lefty. So I get all that. Then he goes to Beeter with 1 out in the 8th, and I'm thinking, he's going for the 5-out save here. Beeter gets 2 outs. One of them was a really well-hit line drive to left field that Dalen Lyle ran a long way to make the catch for that. And after that, I'm thinking, okay, Beeter will come back for the 9th. No, instead it's Gus Varland, who we saw record his first career save in Milwaukee over the weekend. And now here he is, facing the bottom of the line, but maybe that was the thought process, but he ends up having to face a couple of the big guys at the top of the lineup, including Oneil Cruz, in a huge spot with the game on the line. That's a huge strikeout from Gus Varland to get him with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, and then ultimately to finish off the game like that. We talked the other night, we don't know what the bullpen roles are. I'm not sure that they know at this point either. I would have thought that given all their options, that Beeter or Perez would be your choice in the 9th inning. And no, they both pitched earlier, and it was Varland with his second career save and second save in a handful of days here, pitching the 9th for them.
You know how on Facebook they have for relationship status, it's complicated? That's how it is with Nats relievers and their roles. It's complicated, okay? It's not simple. It's not straightforward. It's complicated. And that's how it is right now. I mean, I don't think you should expect anything with anyone in any game, at least at this point. Now, maybe a month from now, things start to settle down. I mean, you'd like to think as the season goes on, some roles will be defined, some guys will rise up. But at this moment in time, I don't know how you peg anyone for any particular role with the way that things have been going. I think it's interesting with Mitchell Parker. I mean, I think we need to see more from him as a reliever before we declare anything, right? But we've seen this many times. The failed starter does better as a reliever because he knows he's only pitching for an inning or 2, at most 3, and so he can go all out. Some guys maybe react better to just being thrust into a game as opposed to having the angst and anxiety of having to prepare for a start. Maybe he's one of those guys, but it did stand out. I mean, he was not a strikeout pitcher as a starter. And to see him get not just 5 strikeouts, but 5 swinging strikeouts, and against some of the Pirates' better batters, It just was so impressive. I was so happy for the guy back in the majors and looking this good in his first game here at the major league level this regular season.
Yeah, and he talked about coming to spring training with more confidence than he had. He admitted he wasn't feeling so great about himself at the end of last season, and you can understand why, given the way that he struggled. But he felt better about himself this spring. And even though they sent him down, and it was actually the first demotion of his career. Remember, he was called up actually 2 years ago Wednesday on Jackie Robinson Day at Dodger Stadium to make his major league debut, and then had not gone back to the minors until this spring. So he talked about when that happened, how he took it the right way, essentially, and went there knowing what he was going to try to work on and believing that he was going to be back up here at some point, helping them, and fully embracing the idea of, I'll do whatever they ask me to do. If that means long reliever, I'll do that. And I think he looked like a guy who was much more confident in himself tonight. And to have that kind of success, I mean, you strike out O'Neill Cruz, Brandon Lau, and Brian Reynolds were the first three batters he faced in the big leagues this season in a one-run game. That's got to be a shot of confidence for a guy who admittedly lost some of it last year. So you're right. It's not nearly enough to know if this is going to work in the long run, but he doesn't have to be great. If he can just be better than what we had seen from him as a starter, there is absolutely potential for him to have some staying power as a 2 to 3 inning lefty out of the bullpen.
And we've talked about Brad Lord potentially fulfilling that role. This team, this pitching staff, you probably could use multiple long men in the bullpen. So if you have Lord and Parker who can eat up some innings as relievers, that's a good thing. Like, this team probably could use a couple of guys like that.
We've all been there. You're away for the weekend, the big game is on, and you realize you're restricted from watching. Or maybe you're trying to check the latest lines on your betting app, but your local network is blocking the site. These are the ultimate unforced errors. You can prevent this from happening to you with IPVanish. IPVanish is the powerhouse VPN designed to keep you in the game no matter where you are. IPVanish helps you stay connected to your favorite team and streaming services while you travel. But it's not just about watching the game. For the bettors out there, IPVanish provides an extra layer of security and privacy that helps you access your account safely on public Wi-Fi. Plus, IPVanish is lightning fast, so you won't have to worry about lag during those crucial live betting moments. Right now, get a massive discount at IPVanish.com. That's IPVANISH.com to get started today. Secure your play and go to IPVanish.com.
Shortstop is well toward the middle, 19-year-old Connor Griffin. The pitch, swing and a long drive to right, way back, going down the line, and this one is gone. Goodbye. Another home run for CJ Abrams. That's 2 in 2 nights here at PNC Park. That one 3 rows from the top of the seats, right down the line, up above the 320 mark and the 21-foot Clemente wall. That gives him 19 runs batted in, and it's now the Nationals 4, the Pirates 1.
Game 3 for the Nats at the Pirates Wednesday evening at 6:40. Jake Irvin will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 4 Thursday afternoon at 12:35. Foster Griffin will be the Nats starting pitcher. By the way, the Pirates are doing well. I know there's a lot to attendance in Pittsburgh, but the official attendance for Tuesday evening, 9,423. In theory, you say to yourself, okay, it's probably going to take time for Pittsburgh to be rebuilt as a baseball market off the terrible ownership for years now. And I get it, school is still going on, weeknight in April, etc. But boy, 9,423 for this Pirates team, which has been one of these stories in MLB so far.
Yeah, and even though it rained and it slightly delayed the game, it was still a beautiful night after all that. So it wasn't really a weather issue. It shows you that they actually got a bump for Paul Skeens on Monday that got him up to 11,000. It shows you how small the season ticket base is. That what you find out, and this is across the board, aside from a handful of teams that are just always going to draw no matter what, weeknights in April tell you what your season ticket base is. And clearly the Pirates have a very small season ticket base, as you can understand from all the seasons of losing. And you're right, it takes a little time before the attendance catches up to the performance. It's unfortunate because this is a young, exciting team that looks like it is actually trying to do something this year. I would guess if they keep this up, having seen what happened here in 2013, 14, 15, they made the playoffs 3 straight years, and they were selling out and having really good crowds. That wild card game here against the Reds, famous game that the crowd impacted Johnny Cueto from drop the ball. This is a great sports market, and I don't doubt if the Pirates keep this up that the attendance will pick up. But yeah, it was noticeable. It felt like a Miami Marlins kind of crowd on this night, and I would guess we're going to see similar on Wednesday. And then Thursday for a 12:35 series finale, probably a similar situation.
That game in which Johnny Cueto dropped the ball off the chants of Cueto, that is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And like you said, that's one of the classic examples of a crowd impacting an MLB game. You don't usually see that in baseball, right? You see crowds impact NBA games, NFL games, not MLB games. But in that game, that crowd got in the head of Johnny Cueto. That was amazing when that happened.
Well, the standing room only crowd trying to get under Johnny Cueto's skin, and they might be.
You tell us what you think. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email us natschatpodcast@gmail.com. We have a website you can check out too, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
Now Parker again from the stretch like a reliever comes set. The kick, here it comes. Breaking ball, line drive right at Nasim Nunez. He makes the catch, and a curly W in the books to celebrate a win for Jake Irvin. And Mitchell Parker goes 3 2/3 innings for his first Major League save in his first ever big league relief appearance.